Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody, and welcome to final practice for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Now, tomorrow night's Crown Royal presents the Heath Calhoun 400 is not an impound race, as Larry explained earlier, but it's an impound style schedule. Practice, final practice, and then get the cars ready for qualifying. So as we enter practice round 2, my question will be, it's hotter, the track has slowed down even more. How do you adjust? And now, are you switched over? You're still thinking about the race as we start this practice, or are we getting ready for qualifying?
No, I think that first practice was strictly race. Right. Now you're going to try to work on your qualifying setup, because this is a tough pit road. And the further down there toward turn 1 you can get, the better off you're going to be. So you'll probably throw some tires and tape on, maybe whatever else you're going to do to the car to get it ready to qualify, to see what kind of lap you can lay down now. And that's going to present, that's why you need an hour and a half, because going from race to qualifying changes everything.
And I think Tony Stewart said it best that first practice. And I think with this type of a schedule like Mike talked about, where all the practices is in the daytime, hot weather, and we race at night, I think we're having that experience as a driver, or maybe that experience as a crew chief, knowing what this place is going to do at night. And I agree with Tony. It seems to be one of those racetracks. It doesn't change the balance of the car. It doesn't get tighter at night. It just gains grip, and it's going to run faster, but it gains grip. So regardless if you're fast or slow on a stopwatch, you're looking for that feel. You're looking for that balance even in this final practice.
All right, let's check with Dick Bergeron down in the garage.
I'm hanging out in Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s garage, Mike, because he has got a very good race car. They're going out right now, going to run just a few laps with a race setup and try to get the snug out of the middle of the corner. That's it. It's not tight, just a little bit snug. Every place else, the car is just right. This place has been good to Earnhardt. He's been good to Ed. He's got a total of 6 wins here, 3 in the Cup Series and 3 in the Nationwide Series. Just about up.
Well, Kyle Busch spent some of the time in between those 2 practice sessions talking to his brother Kurt. He joked around with his crew members and climbed in his car. They're getting ready to go out. I talked to crew chief Dave Rogers. They turned 79 laps in that first practice, more than anyone. He said they weren't really looking at number of laps, but more heat cycles on the tires. The plan here, do a couple race runs. They will not switch over to qualifying trim until about halfway through this session. Mike?
Thanks, Krista. It is a beautiful day in Richmond, and for what maybe only the second time this entire season of NASCAR on Fox, there is no rain anywhere in the forecast. Today, tonight, tomorrow night, clean and green.
It's supposed to be even warmer tomorrow, which is going to be actually be pretty warm when the green flag drops on this race.
It's kind of interesting thought to me, though, that Dave Rogers said there's checking heat cycles on the tires. I'm going to cycle them bad boys off every chance I get. Got trouble, guys.
Yeah, A.J. Allmendinger's been in the wall down in turn number 1. Just got way up and into the loose stuff and scraped it up a bit right between 1 and 2 on the right side.
Well, we showed earlier when we were looking at the racetrack, you get up out of that dark stuff, you can see just above, all up in here, that's just a lot of little marbles and rubber, and you get that on your tires, you absolutely won't turn. You'll go straight in the fence. See all this stuff right in here, that's just rubber and debris off the tires. Hits those hot, sticky tires, away she goes.
A lot of scraping down the right side, but doesn't look to be serious damage. Speed's presentation of NASCAR's Sprint Cup final practice from Richmond is brought to you by Sponsify. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, enter it. By Toro, count on it. And by Tornadoes, bold is how we roll. A.J. Allmendinger brings this practice to a halt. He got into turn 1 a little hot and got up and into the safer barrier. Looks like cosmetic damage. Not sure if he's knocked the alignment out or done anything further to that 43.
And that'll be their biggest challenge, is just make sure that it hadn't been anything on the right front or a trailing arm or a rear end housing, and just kind of pound it out and try to get back out there.
Dick?
The toe on Allmendinger's car, Mike, but that's all they've done so far. Scales are coming out. They're going to put it up on the scales and see if the weight balance is where it should be. Right side of the car doesn't look all that bad, but I'll tell you what, this driver is really, really angry that this has happened.
Yeah, and then certainly we apologize to anybody that was watching as we were looking at A.J. He was upset, and apologize for his language and understand how he feels.
Well, I mean, here's a driver the last time we were at a track near this size sat on the pole. Phoenix.
Well, he's 9th quickest already in this practice session, and he was 8th quickest in the first practice. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is he knew he had a pretty good race car, probably for qualifying and the race.
Yeah,
and it's just going to set him back.
That's it. It's a setback. Now, instead of being out there on the racetrack trying to get more speed out of the car, got to fix the car. It takes a lot of time.
Jamie Mack jumps up to 3rd. He won the opening practice in the Bass Pro Shop Chevy. Got his first turkey this week. That's a good thing. He's been a fisherman pretty much all his life, but went out hunting with Johnny Morris and the Bass Pro people, and they said he bagged his first turkey this week.
I'm very uncomfortable with that.
Turkey?
Bagging a turkey.
Okay. Toyota track description, the Sponsifier description of Richmond International, 3/4 mile track. And note that banking number, 14 degrees. Will send you off in the corner with a lot of speed and hopefully a lot of grip.
You know, Darrell, going back to the Allmendinger deal, this racetrack sat for 30 minutes. And when it sits in this kind of temperatures, the oils just bleed up in it. If you had a pretty good race car in that first practice with a certain grip level, isn't there a good chance you might go back out there in this practice and the grip level not quite be, and just kind of catch you off guard a little bit?
I think one of the things that happens, though, is you go back out there on the tires. You've heard about the heat cycles. Dave Rogers was talking about that. Cars set in the garage, so not only is the track heated up and some of the oil comes out of it, you still got probably an old set of tires in the car. You're expecting the car to stick a little bit better than it did, and you're right, you get yourself in trouble.
Juan Pablo Montoya, right now he's only run a total of 5 laps. First time out in this practice, he's 22nd quickest.
And Matt Kenseth, 4th fastest in this session. His sponsor is also the sponsor of the race, and you'll see Heath Calhoun's name there on the lower quarter panel.
You know, I want to repeat something that Darrell said in that first practice, and I think he was absolutely spot on. We can talk about Matt Kenseth being in 4th in points. We can talk about Greg Biffle being in 3rd. Roush Fenway needs to win a race. It doesn't matter who it's with. They need to go to victory lane in the Cup Series.
Yeah, that momentum, we've seen it so many times over and over again, where that will just change everything. It changes the attitude of the guys in the shop. It changes the attitude of the driver. You just feel better about yourself. When you feel better about yourself, you're going to do a better job on the racetrack, and the whole race team is going to perform better.
Well, you just think about it. This man we're looking at right there, Carl Edwards, in the 99 car in 2008, won 9 races. Greg Biffle won 2. They started last year off winning the very first 2 races with Matt Kenseth, and other than McMurray winning at Talladega in the fall, they've been shut out.
Barry Landis, our producer, says, now that's a drought. I'm sure they have a grass seed for that.
I think they ought to water the car during the race tomorrow night myself.
Would it turn green?
Yeah, that's what if they had some way of watering it while the race going and it start turning green while the race was going, the further it went, the greener it get.
That would be so cool.
Wouldn't that be fun?
We'll let you ponder on that through this commercial break. Clint Boyer and Ryan Newman are fastest. Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Jamie Mack, Matt Kenseth, and Martin Truex are the Fast 5 so far. Krista?
Clint Boyer started this session with a car that was too tight. He came back in, they made some changes. Well, they fixed the tight condition. Now Clint says his car's a little loose, but a bigger problem, the front end will not turn at all. He's been back in here for a while. Shane Wilson, crew chief, talking to Clint through the window. And something else that they have an issue with right now, the starter isn't working. One of the crew guys, Wes, came back with a starter. They hadn't switched it out yet, but they're having to give him a push when he's back here in the garage.
It reminds me of what I told Ivan Baldwin one time, one of my crew chiefs. Complained about the car, and he said, could you just find one thing you like about the car? Just one thing.
Just make me feel a little bit better
right.
about it.
It's a brand new car, and I tell him all the things are wrong with it.
Denny Hamlin had a big night with his charity race last evening. How'd that go?
It went good. Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, Mike, Southside Speedway, standing room only, great night. Denny was in his own zip code as far as qualifying. Sat on the pole by 2/10. Tony Stewart on the outside of the front row. but one of the local guys did the bump and run on Denny, coming through 3 and 4 to take the checkered flag, and Denny ended up, I think, finishing 4th. Tony Stewart finishing 3rd. I'm really proud to say little Brandon McReynolds finished 5th last night with those boys. So good night for him.
Who was it? C.E. Falk that won the race?
C.W. Falk.
C.W. Falk.
Yeah, I think C.W.
One of those Falk boys.
Yeah. I would.
C.E.
I
Falk,
would like to have been there, but the last time I went there, they told me don't never come back. So.
But what a great night for a great charity. The Denny Hamlin Foundation looks after especially children with cystic fibrosis, so a great cause last night.
C.E. is the 21-year-old son of former Busch Series driver Eddie Falk.
Okay.
Who made that last leg pass. Tony 2nd, Eddie Johnson 3rd, Denny Hamlin, Brandon McReynolds the top 5.
That's putting it lightly, a pass.
Was it the dump and run instead of the bump and run?
Well, Denny didn't quite lose it, but he came close. So, but no, it was a great night of racing. We raced on into Friday morning, I think it was, when it was all over with.
Well, Denny's goal going in was that Kyle Busch didn't win again. So I guess they accomplished that.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, several of them were involved in a big wreck after a restart. There's John Darby, competition director.
Looks like he's standing there like that guy in the Cool Hand Luke, that old sheriff, you know. What we got here is a complete failure to communicate.
There's Kyle Busch in the 18 car, but I'm going to tell you what, going back to John Darby, I just want to once again say what a phenomenal job that the people at NASCAR has done with our sport over the last few months. When you look at all the things that they've done, all the things that they've changed, you know what? It had to be a huge gamble to go from the wing to the spoiler. Look at the great racing we had at the first of this year with the wing, but they bit the bullet, worked with the teams. Just everything they've done has just been unbelievable.
What I like about this change is all the testing they did, both on track and in the wind tunnel, and John could stand there and quote you the differences in the numbers. He and Robin Pemberton, by adding that extension to the rear quarter panel to mimic the effect of the side plate on the wing, they had all the data, all the numbers, and all the answers. And I think, Larry, if you look back at last week's race at Talladega, is there any of all the changes that NASCAR has made in the last year to year and a half, they all came into play during that race, and it all played out as they intended. And I think the fans saw a really exciting, really entertaining show. It had to be exciting for the drivers. You know, there's some folks who are still wondering how to play this possible 3 attempts at overdrive, the green-white checker finish. But by and large, I think they've got this sport firing on all 8 cylinders, and they've got it where the people who watched that race last Sunday, you had to walk away from the TV set saying, wow, that was a great race. I can't wait to tune in next week.
Yeah, and trust me, tuning in again this week, you'll see just as exciting a race. I mean, we've seen unbelievable racing here at this little racetrack, this 3/4 mile track. And yeah, last week was the product of a good Talladega. I mean, last week was all the things that we come to love and can't wait to see at Talladega. The close racing, the drafting, the 3 wide, 4 wide, and an incredible finish. That's all the good things about Talladega.
I think your buddy Felipe Lopez knew what he was doing, putting the brake blowers on his 4 tires of Joe Nemechek's 87 car. He's second quickest right now in this practice session.
Joe went out, ran 2 laps, and Felipe, who I used to work with at DEI when I drove the Pennzoil car, Felipe immediately went over and got all these blue fans and put them on the wheels. And I told Larry, I said, that's Felipe's idea getting ready to qualify.
Maybe the secret's 2 blowers on the front tire and 1 on the rear tire.
Well, he got a lot bigger brakes on the front.
There's Felipe. All right, what this tells us is a lot of the go-homers, the fellows who have to time their way into the race, have already switched over to qualifying practice during the 30-minute break. Because in the top 11 right now are Joe Nemechek, Terry Cook, David Stremme, and Michael McDowell. All of those are go-or-go-home cars. And here's Mike Bliss putting up his first laps of this session. So their race is to get into the race. So that's what they'll be occupied with for this entire session.
But I think a lot of the big guns, I saw Mark Martin just strolling through the garage area a while ago. The reason he's strolling through the garage area, I'm sure Alan Gustafson and the 5 team, as you mentioned, Darrell, are moving that car from race trim to qualifying trim to make their practice qualifying run.
And it takes a few minutes to do it. What's going on with the 11 car, Dick?
Well, he's let it off a lot of laps here, but he's going to have to get the car better to lead some laps tomorrow night. His conversation with his crew, he needs to turn better in the center. He needs to be better off. He needs to turn on throttle without getting loose, and he needs some help with forward bite. That's a long list of needs for Denny Hamlin. The crew's going to try to give it to him. Krista.
Somebody else who needs to get their car just a little bit better is Juan Montoya, currently out of the race car with owner Chip Ganassi standing by. Ganassi doing double duty with his Indy cars in Kansas this weekend, but he is here. Montoya, huge momentum coming in here with that 3rd place finish at Talladega. Richmond, not necessarily been one of his better tracks. In fact, he jokes he's one of the few drivers who doesn't really like this place, but he finished 10th here last year, trying to get up there on the speed chart where his teammate McMurray was in that first session.
I wonder about that because we have Hornish, who runs really well here coming out of Indy cars. Montoya there with car owner Chip Ganassi in the sunglasses. A road race veteran, not so happy about this place. And I wonder, Darrell, you know, road racing is all about corner exit, not so much about corner entry. Richmond with this big, wide, sweeping turn 1 is as much about corner entry as it is about exit.
Yeah, I could see that, Mike, but I think the one thing that helps Montoya anytime we go somewhere where you use a lot of brake is his ability to use a lot of brake. You think about a road racer, the toe and heel, the way they do to get down in the corner where they use brakes to stop the car, not the gear shift, not the gears. So I think anytime we go to Martinsville or wherever where you have to lay on the brakes pretty hard, I would probably give him a little bit of nod there as far as being pretty good.
Interesting.
So I don't know what's wrong. You know, he's probably not got the same setup that McMurray has. They're probably going to throw that at it.
And here's Carl Edwards in the 99 car. He's 21st quickest. Want to give a nod. Speaking of giving a nod, we just saw David Strimmy in the 26 car just pulled in the garage area, jumped up the 3rd quickest on the practice sheet.
21st for Carl right now.
Car looks good. Nice and straight up off the corner.
And David Rudiman, who is 12th.
Hit what you needed to there. I ran the brake fans the whole time that time, and it's got built up now, so I'm going to have to regulate it pretty good there.
But you know, I definitely think they've made some gains with this car because I think his words in the first practice was very short and simple. Terrible.
Terrible.
Just terrible. Car drives like a knucklehead.
Jamie Mack won the last practice, 5th in this one. 3rd among the drivers who are locked into the field. And I think in the first half of this session, we need to make that distinction because the drivers who must qualify on time are all out there making mock qualifying runs already. Most of these drivers who will be in the race tomorrow night, based on their top 35 in the owner points, still making race runs.
These are pretty slow speeds, though, Larry. I mean, we're in the 22-second bracket. Seemed to me like we usually get down in the mid-21s, don't we? 21.5, somewhere down in there.
Yeah, because Brian Vickers is actually the track record holder from back in 2004 at a 20.77. But you're right, I think, and I do believe when we go to qualify about 5:30 local time that we'll probably get in the high 21s.
Yeah, remember at Phoenix, again, we always keep talking about Phoenix because they're similar. That's what happened out there.
Tonight on Speed, the incredible story of Hall of Famer Junior Johnson. From moonshine runner to one of NASCAR's greatest drivers and car owners. Don't miss NASCAR Hall of Fame biography, Junior Johnson, tonight at 10, only on Speed.
Most interesting 6 years of my life when I drove for Junior.
I'll bet.
I thought you were going to say when you worked with Hammond.
No, that was not interesting. It was brutal.
So what do you call this? Just the most recent 10 years of your life? Yeah.
I've never been locked in the same cell this long with the same two guys before.
Now, here now.
Guys, we were just talking about Mark Martin, and sure enough, he just made a practice qualifying run. Lap 1, he was 7th quickest. Lap 2, he is now the quickest in this practice session.
Down to 22:19 for Mark. Krista.
Jamie McMurray back out on the racetrack, and the last time he came in, he said his race car was really loose in. He actually just came on the radio and told his team to put it back the way we started. And I know, Mike, you mentioned that he bagged a turkey. I thought that was great. The only thing you guys said in that first practice session I was uncomfortable with, Larry Mack said we're all married to the same woman, just different names. What?
Yep.
Well,
You just think about it.
Krista being
I'm the
newly
only
married.
one. I'm the only one who can say that, right, and get away with it.
Yeah, I'm sure PK will understand as time goes on that wives tend to react to the same situation very similarly.
Yes.
Certain situations seem to have the same outcome no matter who you're married to. And yes, dear, that's a very nice, polite way of explaining what we were trying to say.
I thought we were off the air when we said that.
No,
we were going to commercial.
Going to commercial, okay.
we weren't quite there.
No.
Oops.
But you explained it very nicely.
Okay.
We hope you did anyhow.
Yeah.
If not, the cell phones will light up momentarily.
Mine's blinking now.
Yep. Where's Tony?
He's 32nd
Thank
quickest.
you. I was looking on the wrong side of the board.
He's just starting this run right here. He's actually already run a total of 25 laps in this practice session. But what I saw with Mark, what that tells me is that you're probably going to run 2 laps. It looks like the second lap's going to be the quickest, probably more so from heat in the tires. But I think what that could also lead to is a little debate. Do we want to maybe just roll our qualifying tires in? Not run them hard, just knock that newness off a little bit.
That's a security, somewhat like a security blanket. When you put those qualifiers on, you do not want to make them mad. You don't want to abuse them. You just want to put them on, roll out of the pits, go down the back, swerve the car around a few times, maybe run off into turn 3 with a teeny bit of speed, and then come right back into pits. It gets that glaze off of them. That glaze can cause you to get a little squirrely when you take off, and that'll distract you a little bit, and that'll hurt your concentration on your qualifying lap. If those things are good to go when you drop the hammer on it, it's going to make your lap a lot better.
Mike, this is the racetrack that I think led NASCAR several years ago to make a rule that says you can only get 6 sets of tires to practice and qualify on. I remember coming here not long after this track was reconfigured and repaved, and we probably went through a dozen set of tires on qualifying day only. Do we want a half lap scuffs, 1 lap scuff, 2 lap scuff? And guess what we did with all 12 of those sets of tires after Friday? They got shoved on the corner because we ran stickers all day on Sunday.
Yeah, again, Larry, this pit road it's a tough pit road. Yeah, a lot of it's in the turn. If it's on the turn 4 end, you're coming in on a turn. Down on the other end down here, turn 1, you're going out on a turn. You can see you got, it's turning here, and it's got a little bit of straight stuff. So you want to try to get a nice, good pit selection. How do you get that? Got to qualify up front.
We saw Joe Nemechek, who's now the fastest of the go homers. He's run 5 laps in this session.
Well, Mike, to support what Daryl's also talking about, 107 races here, 33 won from the front row, 21 from the pole.
Trackside tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, live, well, almost live from Richmond. You'll see it at 11 o'clock tonight. The boys aren't staying up quite that late, but you're going to have a fun show with Casey Kane.
Yep, Casey Kane going to come on. I'm sure we'll talk a little paint scheme with Casey.
Yes, we will. Retro. Like retro paint schemes.
Mark Martin is quickest, but his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Jeff Gordon is 44th in this session. Dick Bergeron?
Not to worry about Jeff Gordon. After the last run, he came on the radio and told crew chief Steve Letarte that the car was loose going in the corner, loose in the middle, loose coming out. Letarte reminded him that was exactly the behavior of the car last fall. And last fall, there was only 1 practice here. Gordon was quickest in that practice. He led 97 laps in the race on his way to finishing third. They have just converted this car to time trial configuration. Gordon's behind the wheel. He's ready to go out and see just how much speed he's got. Krista.
In the garage with Ryan Newman. I'm sure you're very glad to get back to a short track. I know Talladega was rough. We're back to you can't hear anything I say. I just told you were my favorite race car driver ever.
You did?
Yeah, no. Twice. Yeah, no. I want to know how the car is, I'm sure, and I said I'm sure you're glad to be back to a short track.
Our U.S. Army Medicine Chevrolet felt really good. We were decent in race trim there, and just changing it over to qualifying trim, so we'll see what we got. But the track's really slick and greasy, and I feel like we got a pretty good car.
Yeah, I mean, same tire as Phoenix. You were obviously very good there. Does that translate at all?
Well, I hope so. You know, we had a good car there. This is a brand new race car for us at Stewart-Haas, and I think that guys have made improvements, and it seems to drive pretty well. I think everybody's a little tight in the center. If you can get your car free in the center, you're going to be slow, so we'll see.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, and he's honoring the medical staff of the U.S. Army this week with his paint scheme.
Thanks, Krista.
Yeah, we talked in the first practice about all the spots and the points that his teammate Tony Stewart has lost in the last 5 races. Ryan has actually gained 8 spots in the last 5 races, and that would even include that late race crash that he had at Talladega last week.
Reed Sorensen running for Braun Racing, unsponsored, here at Richmond, and trying to time his way into the field. He's right now 27th overall and among the Gorgo homers. Not sure. Now here's Reed Sorensen, who slapped the wall early on, and oh yeah, I mean, we saw Sorensen. Here's Allmendinger, who slapped the wall early on. Sorensen did not. Still a little scuffed up on the right side, so that indicates they did not have to go to a backup car, and whatever damage might have been done was minor, and they've got it fixed.
Yeah, no, I don't. When we looked at the car, basically you nailed it. It was scraped up. It didn't look banged up, so I think he's okay with that car. That'll make him feel better.
And Clint Boyer, who is second fastest, is I guess he's adjacent. He's not interloping there on the Lowe's box. He's alongside and sharing a word with Chad Knaus. Yeah, there you go. There you see it.
But you see he's standing on the Kevin Harvick transporter. The trucks are parked in the order that they are in the points, but no matter what, even though the 48 team is leading the points, that's one perk you get for winning the championship in the following year. You get the #1 pit stall, garage stall. You get the #1 truck parking spot.
What do you think that cat's talking about or thinking about? He's not talking about anything. I wonder what he's thinking about.
Well, he might be thinking about when he drove the 43 car here when it was a half mile, won 13 races when she was old Fairgrounds half-mile track.
Yeah, Rich got around here pretty good. Him and Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet and Dale Anderson. Kale got around here great back in the day.
DW got around this place pretty sporty too.
I liked it. It was fun. I loved all the short tracks. That to me is the best racing that there is when you get to go on the half miles, get to beat and bang a little bit.
Did I tell you the story about Kale and the fire truck here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you told me. I didn't.
Well,
I'm telling everybody
on
else.
the old half mile, they parked the fire truck at the end of pit road, right behind the or next to the guardrail. Kale was driving for Junior in the Holly Farms car, spun the car, and it spun just past the end of pit road and hit the fire truck. And after the race, here comes the head of the fire department, and he's got to write an accident report. And he wanted the license number of the car that hit the fire truck. And Kenneth Campbell was the PR director for the racetrack, and we were sitting in the office. He looked over at me, and he looked back at the fella, and he just said, 11. That was the end of that.
That's about the only number you could give him. Now, Dick Bergman just made a report on Jeff Gordon, this 24 car, who's 44th quickest, as we talked about, but this should be a practice qualifying run, so I think he will safely probably jump well up the practice sheet.
Yeah, hold the phone. Let's see where he goes.
That was his first lap. He went the second quickest at a 22.382. Now, his teammate Mark Martin picked up quite a bit from lap 1 to lap 2 on his practice qualifying run.
It looked like it pushed up a little bit to him in the middle of the corner. Might see how it affected his lap.
How about to the top of the charts at a 22.12. So he went from 44th to 1st. Little qualifying trim, but more important, 4 fresh Goodyear.
That's what I was going to say, Larry. That in and of itself would tell me tomorrow night if I have a chance, excuse me, if I choked to death. That tells me that if I have a chance to put 4 tires on tomorrow night, I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking inside of 10 laps even based on that.
Well, we saw that at Phoenix pretty much. Didn't necessarily win the race, but we did see it.
So Jeff Gordon is quickest. Joe Nemechek, the fastest of the go-home crowd. And the drivers who need to find some speed are Reed Sorensen, Tony Raines, and Max Pappas. Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Jeff Gordon has the fastest lap of this practice session. For more NASCAR stats, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com, sprint.com/speed.
I like what's happening now. Some good stuff. So does he, Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin on Q runs, the two quickest. Nemechek, Stremme, and Cook now the fastest of the go-homers.
Jimmy Johnson fifth, so we got 3 Hendrick cars there in the top 5. I don't think Junebug's made a run yet. See where he ends up.
Montoya and Ganassi continue their conversation.
They've been sitting there a long time.
I was just trying to look, Darrell, you mentioned Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's actually 43rd quickest, which tells me probably Lance McGrew and that group, they've not put that 88 car in qualifying trim yet, because he was actually he was 4th quickest in that first practice session.
I think he'll be a lot like Jeff Gordon. You know, Jeff was over at 40 something and he put tires and tape, and you know, he's up here at the top, so should see about the same kind of performance, I would expect.
David Reagan trying to improve on 30th in this session in the UPS Ford.
And we are correct. Dick Berggren just reported to us that they are working on putting the 88 car in qualifying trim as we speak, so he should be out there shortly. The 88 car sitting in the garage area, should be backing out here just directly.
Getting her all amped up, that's what they're doing.
Here's going to seal off some ducts.
42 car getting ready to make a qualifying run.
Those are all NACA ducts, space age technology.
NACA was actually the government entity that became NASA once the United States entered the space age.
And if you're sitting on an airplane and you look out the wing of an airplane, you'll see NACA ducts that shoot air in to cool things like the jet engines, because what that duct does, it's a great airflow tool that doesn't create a lot of aero drag. So that's obviously what you want on an airplane. It's what you want on a Sprint Cup Series car.
It's an engineered solution to try to take in air from a flat surface without, like you say, without creating drag.
We used to do reverse NACA ducts, which worked absolutely amazing. We put them in the floor of the car and in the back firewall of the car, and that airflow under the car, it would relieve that pressure. It would shoot it out the sides of windows, and when it did, it would help attach the air to the side of the car. And so we had those things everywhere. We had them in the transmission tunnel and everywhere, and they finally made a rule against having a reverse duct. They have to go in the side window, and they have to be put in the way they were intended to be. But it's just one of those things. We lucked up in a wind tunnel one day. All of a sudden, wow, look what that did.
That's not what happened. Hammond just installed it backwards.
Well, that too, yeah, that's exactly what.
Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. We just talked about him. Just started his practice qualifying run, 43rd quickest. And he will go to 7th quickest on lap 1 at a 22:38. That's about what Jeff Gordon ran on his first lap of his practice qualifying run.
I think he's going to roll it up, Larry, because Martin Truex there in the 55, and there was another car right up ahead of them that looked like might impede his second lap. I think he decided to abort that.
So has Krista bagged a turkey, or is she caught up with Jamie Mack?
Caught up with Jamie McMurray,
Okay.
but yes, we were talking about that turkey hunting trip, so give us the goods. How was it?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I was fortunate because I had the best turkey caller in the business, Johnny Morris, call the turkey in for me. So it was a lot of fun to go back to Missouri. We spent we spent the first morning, got up at 4:30, Chip and I and Johnny and his boy John Paul, and we drove about an hour away to another piece of property, and it was just so much fun for Johnny to call that in, and anyone who's never been turkey hunting should try that. I mean, I haven't really done that much hunting before, but I had just one of the best days, and we got done turkey hunting about 1 o'clock, and we went back and went fishing till about 7:30 that night, and then we ate turkey and bass for dinner. So it was a really fun day.
So you got the turkey and then you had dinner. You got to eat the turkey afterwards.
Right. Yeah. We went back and we had turkey breast and some of the bass that we caught. We caught about 150 or 175 fish, and I was lucky. I didn't have to clean any of them. I sat and observed, but Johnny and his boy and Bono jumped in. We cleaned all the bass, and actually we're going to have a fish fry for the guys tomorrow afternoon with the fish that we caught. So it was a fun day.
All right, very cool. Yeah, you can tell by the smile on his face that he had a good time. Enjoying this sponsorship with Bass Pro Shops for sure.
Yeah, it's fishing right there.
150 to 175 bass.
Yeah, that's some serious fishing.
Speed's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup final practice from Richmond is brought to you by AutoZone. For the auto parts, accessories, and advice you need, get in the zone. AutoZone. No change to the top 5. Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Clint Boyer, Joe Nemechek, Jimmy Johnson. Then David Stremme, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Newman, Jamie McMurray, and Terry Cook. The top 10. Nemechek, Stremme, and Cook among the go-or-go homers. And the 3 most at risk remain: Reed Sorensen, Tony Raines, and Max Pappas.
Yep. You know, we just saw Mike Helton, the president of NASCAR, and Darrell and I were talking about this a few weeks ago. That man stays on the go 24/7. He's always in the tower for every single race, whether it's Sprint Cup, Nationwide, or the Truck Series. He probably attends a dinner every single night of the weekend during a race weekend. He is a very busy man.
And it doesn't matter where the dinner is. Any charity event or anything that NASCAR has to be represented at, Mike's there. And it could be in Wisconsin one day and New York the next, or Nashville, or California. He travels a lot, but he's such a great ambassador for the sport. Not only is the president of the sport, but I've said it many a time, he would be almost irreplaceable in my mind. The kind of job that he does, the influence he has.
He's definitely a hands-on leader, and
yep.
I can't think of many occasions in other sports where the head of a league would come in the TV booth to explain things, you know, as Mike will do when he feels the need, or we're always able to reach out for counsel and get word from Mike or Robin or John if we have a question about how things are being done and run. It's a great way this sport is operated, and we really enjoy the relationship we have with them.
Yeah, this has been one of the best years that I think we've ever had, working with everybody on the same page. The racing's been great. The sport this year, you know, last week's rating was back the kind of rating that we're accustomed to seeing a couple of years ago for the race at Talladega. Things are really on an upswing right now, and really it's Brian Franks and Mike and all those guys. It's because of the attitude that they had in the off season. Changes that were made, fans were heard, complaints were answered, and we're seeing results of it, and it's all good.
I think the last piece to the puzzle, Darrell, will be when we see these grandstands full again, which is due to external forces, I think, more than anything to do with the sport. As the economy rebounds, people start coming back to the track. I think that's the last piece to the puzzle. Carl is currently 30th. I think I'll get in trouble, but I think I have this paint scheme figured out. You know, grass is green when it grows, but when you open up that bag of grass seed, what color is it? It's kind of a golden tone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before you put it in the spreader and lay it out there and do all that work. So, okay, that makes sense. But I agree with you. I would just love it if they'd pull that car in and in the middle of the race, pour some water on it, and it kind of chia pets itself into this nice green carpet, and that would just be too cool. It's also too much to hope for. We know.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they could lay some sod in their pit instead of the asphalt.
Yeah.
That'd be better.
And if he won the race, when the race over, they'd take a weed eater into the victory circle and cut the grass.
Wait a minute, I'm not sure Scott's make sod, so we'd have to bring some dirt in and some seed and water it, and never mind.
You know what always people always remind me, you know, DW, the more you talk, the deeper in trouble you get.
I just felt one of those moments right there.
I'll just share that with you, Mike.
Thank you. That's good advice.
I thought about uttering the words that you have told me many times. Stick to what you know.
Yep.
Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Right now, Greg is 37th quickest. He's run a total of 25 laps.
There you see, Jimmy, he may just be rolling in a set of tires right now.
Exactly what he's doing, Darrell, because he just left pit road and came around to start a lap and pretty much eased it through 1 and 2 and right into the garage area. That's exactly what this 48 team has done right here. Love it when a plan comes together.
Works.
Now there's some camber in that right front.
And elsewhere, the season opener for Friday night drags at Atlanta Motor Speedway is tonight. For tickets and info, atlantamotorspeedway.com, or call the number on your screen for tickets.
You know, I know it's a totally different deal, but while we're on the subject of drag racing, you know, when everything got washed out last week at Talladega on Saturday, Kurt Busch flew back to Charlotte and went out to the drag strip there at Charlotte Motor Speedway and worked on with Speed filming an episode of Pink's All Out, and I guess was having a tremendous amount of success until the rains moved in and washed everything out. But he was having a blast and definitely winning some rounds, I think, the way I was told.
I like that 70 Dodge Challenger that he's got. That's a nice looking piece.
I think he's taking this pretty serious right now.
Krista?
Switching over to talk about the Ford of Paul Menard. You know, Menard coming in with a little bit of a slump. He's finished the last 3 races outside of the top 20. And right now they're one of the last cars on this side of the garage to switch over to qualifying trim. As he came back in, he was worried that he might have heard something pop in the left rear, maybe ran over something. The tire looks fine, but he does say his race car has no drive off.
Well, a lot of times when you're coming in the pits or around the garage, the ratchet in the rear end back there, they lock and unlock. They can make a kind of a clicking sound, and every now and then they'll even make a popping sound. I think that's probably what he heard.
I think that graphic right there supports what Krista was just talking about. His best finish the last 3 races, 25th last week at Talladega.
You know, when he started the season on fire, was in the top 12 in points for quite a number of weeks and needs to rebound now.
He had top 20 finishes the first 6 races of 2010.
Kevin Conway anchors the speed chart, 22.97, his fastest lap. But he is locked in by virtue of a top 35 points position on the owner's side.
Pretty smart kid, if you ask me. Running for Rookie of the Year.
Well, I think
rookie.
You know, but I think to his credit, Darrell, what we've seen with this car and Kevin Conway is he's running at the finish of every race. He's not in the garage tore up.
I say it every week, Larry. I mean, you know, when you don't have a lot of experience, how do you get it? You go out there and you finish every race.
Every week.
But he's the only rookie running every race.
Well, Terry Cook has failed to qualify for a number of races. They have attempted every race, I believe, every one. Dick?
Well, we expect a lot from Kyle Busch at this racetrack, Mike. Certainly last spring when he won both the Cup race and also the nationwide race here. But the year before, in 08, he finished second in 07, 5th in 06, 4th in 05. That's consistent top 5s every single spring Cup race Kyle Busch has ever run. But he's not pleased with the race car today. Car, he said, is just plain pushing. The crew has been working on it. They're getting ready to do a mock time trial run, see if they can loosen it up a little bit and make it more to the driver's liking.
Thanks, Dick.
Now, son, let me tell you something. You run my car in the wall, I get in there and do that.
But you know, we know that AJ's driving the 43 car, but there's 4 cars over at Richard Petty Motorsports, but it appears that AJ Allmendinger is the one that Richard has kind of wrapped his arm around just a little bit, really pays close attention to.
Yeah, literally in this case.
In that case,
right around the neck.
Well, it is the 43 car. So.
Well, right, and when they merged, or buyout, or whatever term you choose, the 9 and the 19 came over, and those were the Gillette cars from the Evernham days. The 43 and at the time the 44 were the Petty cars. The 44 went away in favor of the 98 when Paul Menard joined the operation. So, I mean, the 43 will always be the King's car, and no matter who drives it. And I think that makes a very, very strong case for not retiring numbers in this sport. The 3 right now is not being used in the Sprint Cup Series. That number is being held with NASCAR's permission by Richard Childress Racing, which has run the 3 since Richard began his career as a driver. But the number's not retired. NASCAR has never retired a car number to honor a driver, and I think that's the right thing, because as you just saw, no matter who's in the 43, as soon as people see that number and see it painted in that particular typeface, that's Richard Petty.
You know what, and to me, Mike, it shows what a great deal of respect people had for Dale Earnhardt, because that number, someone could push the issue and say, I want that number, and it would be hard for NASCAR not to give it to him because it's not being used. But out of respect to Dale, which I think is much greater than retiring a number, nobody even tries to. Nobody wants to run the number except in that camp.
Right. And
Dale Jr. or if Richard wanted to. But in that camp, those are the only people that really want to run that number. And I think that's like more tribute to Dale than it is to retiring the number and say nobody can use it.
I agree. Now, it's not easy on a young driver who has to climb into a car with the same colors and number that someone else made famous. Just ask Joey Logano.
That's right. He is out of his race car as they switch over to qualifying trim. Joey, I know you lean on your teammates here at this track. You've got guys like Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. How much do you pick their brain when you come to Richmond?
Both seem to be pretty good here, so I ask as much questions as I can. But Home Depot Toyota is actually pretty good. We were pretty happy in the first practice. It's gotten quite a bit hotter out, and I feel like we've lost a little bit of handling, but I'm sure everyone has a little bit, but it seems to be slowing down. So we're switching over to qualifying trim right now and see if we can find some speed and get up the top of the board. But nothing else. I'm pretty pumped up about tomorrow. It's just it's tough to practice right now during the heat, and tomorrow night it's going to be so much different. So it's a way different scenario tomorrow night.
Are you mad at me too because you were back in the shade and I made you come out here in the sunshine?
No, it's good. I need a little suntan.
Thanks, Joey.
Thanks, Krista. You know, thinking back, who was the first driver in the 43 after Richard Petty retired?
Bobby Hamilton, John Andretti.
Somehow my memory is saying Rick Wilson.
Rick Wilson did drive it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Was it right after Richard climbed out of it? I know Rick did drive it, though.
I actually one that's even easier than that.
We'll check.
Who won the last championship since Jimmy Johnson?
Tony Stewart.
It's hard to remember. It's been almost 5 years ago.
Since we sometimes call him Smoke Johnson, who was the last non-Johnson to win a championship? We'll have to look up that one, and we will. Saturday night, May 22nd, the stars come out, the gloves come off. It's the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race on speed. With $1 million on the line, don't miss it. Saturday night, May 22nd, only on speed. We have pulled the brightest minds in television, which aren't necessarily the folks up on the starters stand. They're not exactly in television, but it's a nice shot nonetheless. And here's what we've come up with. Rick Wilson did drive for Richard Petty after the King's retirement. We're told he hopped into the 44, and that Wally Dallenbach was the next to drive the 43. Wally, who is also the son of a famous racer, now a color analyst for TNT. And the other question, the last driver not named Johnson to win the Sprint Cup Championship, Kurt Busch, in the first year of the chase format. And we say that because of Smoke Johnson, which is one of Tony Stewart's nicknames. There was a magazine ad featuring 9 different pictures of a disguised Tony Stewart with captions, names like lukewarm water, and one of those was Smoke Johnson, and the Smoke Johnson thing just kind of stuck. I don't remember what the ad was for, but it was
Krista's hard at work down there.
My gosh, Krista.
Krista, what are you doing?
What are you
Got
doing?
the work gloves on.
I'm delirious from the heat.
I'm telling you. Why are you mounting rain tires? It's 91 degrees.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be down here, I'm going to work at it. That's
All right.
But you know, Darrell, I'm glad you asked that because we continue to get email questions about what are those tires with grooves. Well, what they are, they're a consistent set of tires that Goodyear supplies to the teams that you do your setup work with. You measure it, you weigh the car, and a lot of teams actually haul the cars and the transporters on those tires. They really and truly are not rain tires.
Because as Larry and I was saying, especially next week when we get to Darlington, sometimes you don't even want to roll the tires to the car. You want to be sure and get them on the wagon to the car because you don't want anything to happen to them.
And the reason those setup tires are needed is because the actual race tires are controlled by Goodyear at the track, leased to the teams at the track, and they have to turn those back in. So the grooves on those tires let the inspectors and everyone else know that that car going up into the hauler is going up there on a set of setup tires and not a set of the race tires that might leave the track and go be used for practice or something else they're not supposed to.
Well, I believe there may be some teams that might want Krista to work on their car because Joey Logano just jumped up to 8th quickest on his first practice lap. And here is his second lap.
Whoa.
He goes to second quickest at a 22.141. And he, you know, I could hear the confidence in his voice when she talked to him just a little bit ago. So he's right behind Jeff Gordon, just in front of Clint Boyer.
I've been hearing the confidence in his voice all year long.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he's a different guy when it comes to. Look at this.
So this makes the difference right here.
How much you reckon that weighs, Larry? 50 pounds?
I would say in the neighborhood.
Why am I asking you? Krista, how much that tire weigh anyway?
I would say about 50. That's probably about right. And notice I put the top one on. I went for
did.
the fourth one.
I was just going to mention that. You didn't just grab the bottom one and roll it over.
You know
Did
what,
it have any brake dust on it?
Watching that solidifies the fact that maybe we were wrong. We're not all married to the same woman. Maybe they still have the same name.
Tomorrow, NASCAR race day roars into Richmond. Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, and Mark Martin on the show live as the smoke clears from Talladega. Will relive Kevin Harvick's emotional win on NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot. Live coverage tomorrow, special time, 5 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
Well, synergy is everything because you were speaking about Clint Boyer. Lap 1, he went to the top of the charts at a 22.02. Now, this is his second lap. Slowed down just a little bit, 22.06. So right now, 22.02 quickest for Clint Boyer in that 33 car. I believe this old car, based on the first practice and this practice, this car is going to be pretty tough.
Pretty good that Newman jumped up there, too. He's second now.
And Biffle fourth.
All right, while we don't have a lot of cars on the track, we got a lot of fans that listen to our broadcast and watch our broadcast. And I've got one from old buddy. His name's Indy Big John, sends me emails all the time. He says Smoke Johnson is a name Tony used the first time he entered the winter indoor midget race at Fort Wayne, long before that ad.
And that's why they used the name in the ad. But thanks for that's the original story.
See, I thought maybe you knew something I didn't know because it was an alias. I mean, it was a name that he used to kind of cover up that it was really Tony Stewart. And it took a little while for people to realize. I think he had that Volkswagen-powered midget that he had bought from some guy with a funny, that was a Dorsky or something like that up in Indianapolis. And he bought it and took it. I think he bought it in a poker game or something.
Wow.
Or he won it in a poker game.
Why did he have to race under an alias? Was it an unsanctioned race or?
No, wait,
sure
no.
That'll be the rest of the story.
Okay, that's all. That's all you need to know.
We'll have to wait till the next email comes.
Good point.
Jamie McMurray right now 9th quickest, and he goes to second quickest at a 22.11. So definitely you can tell these guys with about 20 minutes to go are throwing the qualifying packages to these cars.
But I think the smoke, just one more thing I just remembered to see, he told me, the smoke part of his, why they call him smoke was because he was always smoking the right rear. I think that's where he got the smoke part. Now the Johnson part, I think he just probably pulled that out of the Jimmy Johnson library.
I wonder if that was the time when that guy that did the Bud ads was, you doesn't have to call me Johnson, when he was popular.
Could have been.
Remember him?
Could have been.
Now, all 4 of the Hendrick crew chiefs are right here on one hauler, the 48 hauler. You see Steve Letarte there, the 24. You see Alan Gustafson, Lance McGrew about to walk off the hauler, and then Chad Canals. The haulers are parked kind of in a unique way here. And the closest hauler by far to the garage area is the 48 hauler. The rest of them are quite a ways back, so the best and easiest thing for these crew chiefs to do, just go up on top of the 48 hauler.
Jeff Gordon is 6th right now. He's run 15 laps, and now he's 3rd.
Look at those
22:05.
first 4 cars, though. 22:06, 22:04, 22:05, 22:09. Those first 4 cars.
We're told that Tony signed into the Chili Bowl one year as Smoke Johnson, and it was kind of a tribute to Ted Johnson, the fellow who was the head of the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series.
Man, that thing is out of
We're
control.
good friends.
Well, it may be out of control, but she's fast because he just ran a 21.94. Stayed at the top of the charts for about 10 seconds. Kyle Busch ran a 21.84. So, boy, we're starting to see the lap times really change. And that was actually, I think, Kyle Busch's first lap as he's coming around now to complete lap 2.
Which tells me, Larry, when the sun goes down just a skosh.
How about a 21.70?
7-0. Wow. Yeah, when it gets to be about 5:30, we're going to see some 21.20s.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're talking.
Speed's presentation of Sprint Cup Final Practice at Richmond is brought to you by top-rated New Finish. Tough enough to be called the once-a-year car polish.
Well, all that time of sitting on that picnic table with Chip Ganassi, looks like they figured their deal out.
It's Montoya, yeah, 21.91.
And we have pieced together, there's Kurt Busch, the Richard Petty saga. After Richard's retirement at the end of 1992, Rick Wilson did drive for the King. However, in deference to Richard, the number was changed to 44. That was the Petty Enterprises entry for 1993. The number 43 returned the following season to begin the 1994 season with Wally Dallenbach behind the wheel, and he finished 17th in that year's Daytona 500.
So in 1993, it was an STP car, the whole package, just the fact it was not 43, it was 44.
And I think the thought was to take whatever driver replaced Richard, if that's the proper term, because nobody could replace Richard, and not put the pressure of carrying the King's number on Rick Wilson. They ran the 44, and then the 43 came back the following season, and it's been here ever since.
It just always fascinates me when I look at people like Richard Petty or Leonard Wood or some of the people. They were there in the beginning.
Yes.
I mean, they were there for the beach, for the first race at Daytona in '59. I mean, all these places, they were there.
What a wild ride.
You know, you think about this racetrack, we've mentioned several times about the fact that it was a half mile. When this thing opened in 1946, it was actually a half-mile dirt track, and the NASCAR came here for the first time in April of '53, and the winner of that race was Lee Petty.
I'm not sure if Dick Berggren was there in 1953. He may have been. Either he or the man he's going to talk about, Mark Martin.
No, I was at Stafford Speedway in 1953,
okay.
but
Thanks.
I was at the races back then. And the man I'm going to talk about is Mark Martin, and his crew certainly deserves some sort of an award for the amount of effort that they have put into getting this race car the way Mark likes it. It's been mostly the middle of the corners that they have worked on, and they about have it right now. And Mark just invented a word I never heard before. He said the car is pretty turny. Turny.
Yeah. I've always heard of an attorney, but I didn't know about turny.
Ooh, big difference.
Big difference.
Tell you what, this may be a pretty quick run by Scott Speed. His first lap was a 22.82 that time. Yeah, okay. But he has jumped up to 8th quickest with this 82 car. And if you think about it, I know we've mentioned Phoenix 24 times, sat on the outside of the front row at Phoenix in qualifying a few weeks ago.
You know, it's
the
fun.
King's 43, A.J. Allmendinger.
How quickly things changed. Wasn't it just a few laps ago that Ryan Newman was second quick?
Yeah, where is he now?
14.
14?
Just in a little bit of
Yeah, Joey Logano jumped up to second quickest just a little bit ago. Now he's 17th in that 20 car.
Mike Bliss has to make the show on time. He's 4th among the Gorgo homers. And James Finch announced last week that his entire racing operation is for sale. The shop in Spartanburg, South Carolina, a couple of houses on the property to house the crew, a lot of race cars, all of the equipment you need to go racing. And the quote from Finch was, "Name a reasonable price and I'll take half of that." Whoa.
Tell you what, those boys had a great run last week at Talladega, though. You know, they've missed some races this year with this 09 car, and Mike Bliss carried that thing to a top 10 finish last week.
15 back to 39. He's killing it off too here.
Here are the drivers who have to make the field on speed, and now it's quite a different picture of those who are most at risk of missing the show. McDowell, Blaney, and Rains. I don't think McDowell or Blaney have made a mock qualifying run in this session yet.
Right now, though, Terry Cook is a 4.52 in, McDowell out at a 4.56.
Wow. All the news you need is right here on Speed, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in to NASCAR Race Hub. Just never know who's going to stop by. Casey Kane has jumped to 4th on the board, and A.J. Allmendinger 5th as mock qualifying runs continue with about 10 minutes to go in this practice session.
Jimmy McMurray runs in the 21s, jumps up to 6th quickest at a 21.98. So we've now got 7 cars that's running the 21 second bracket.
Krista.
I want to give you an update on the alias of Smoke Johnson being Tony Stewart. How his race car right now, well, after that last run, they jumped up to 13th on the board before he came in. He said, "I'm just still a little bit tight in the center. If we have time, we need to do something about that." Darian Grubb made the call to change a right rear spring, trying to get the car to free up a little bit in the center of the turns.
You know, Tony has raced here at Richmond in Sprint Cup cars, Nationwide Series, actually has a couple of wins in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, as well as USAC Silver Crown and USAC Midget. He's raced about everything you can run here. I think he even drove an IROC car here as well.
Putting that big old right rear spring in that thing, now that'll make it turn if he doesn't lose his forward bite. That's the balancing act you fight there. Put the spring in there to make it cut good through the middle here. But then you're going to get maybe a little bit tail happy up off the corner.
You might unhook one end to fix another.
Clint Boyer just jumped up to 5th with his run. Kyle Busch going back out again, and here's David Gilliland. And Gilliland is 1 spot away from the danger list of the Gorgo homers. And he's 1 spot away. He's just 2 points away from being locked into the field in the top 35. He and Robbie Gordon with that ongoing battle. But this week it's Gilliland who is going to have to time in, and Robbie Gordon who is safe.
And so you're sitting there right on the edge of being in. But if you should miss this race because you can't get a good qualifying lap in, guess what? Next week you won't be so close. You'll be lucky to get back to the top 35.
Kyle Busch with a 22.17 this time, and a 21.97. Quicker, but not as quick as his fastest lap of 21.70.
Tell you, guy we got to hear from here before long if he's going to defend his honor. That's the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, sitting all the way over in 34th right now. Got to see him out there to make a fast lap.
Here's another guy looking for speed. Elliott Sadler right now 38th quickest. His fastest lap is a 22.35. He did just jump up to a 22.15, which puts him 26, as we like to stay still on the wrong side of the scoring monitor. On the right side, need to be on that left side.
Definitely some chatter out of it.
Yeah. And Jeff Burton's jumped up into the top 5. Burton is now 4th quickest.
Robbie Gordon, we were talking about him starting to run. He's 34th quickest right now in the 7 car, and this has been a pretty good racetrack for Robbie. We actually watched him a few years ago make up 4 or 5 laps.
4 laps, yeah. Had a flat tire right on the start of the race.
That was incredible. What a performance.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say the comeback of the day is probably David Ruderman in that 00 car. Halfway through the first practice, comments, car's terrible. First lap in this run, second quickest at a 21.88. And he betters it, but he will stay second to a 21.77.
See, Larry, that's what you crew chiefs never understood about the reason we complain and whine and talk about our car the way we do is so you'll fix it.
Make it better.
Make it better for me.
You know what, Steve Addington said that about Kyle Busch last year. A lot of people were beating Kyle up because he constantly was complaining and downing things. And Steve Addington said, we don't want him to stop that, because that we know if he's doing that, we've got room to make it better.
Greg Biffle up to third and Carl Edwards to fourth as the top five keep shuffling with 5 minutes to go. Closing minutes of practice, Joey Logano third in our AutoZone top 10. He makes it a threesome for Toyota at the top of the board.
It's amazing, though. We have had almost 3 hours of practice in the scramble for cars to get out on the racetrack in the final couple of minutes. And Montoya jumps up to fourth quickest at a 21.79. So we now have 4 cars in the 21.70s. Yeah, they're starting to get a little impatient down there now at the end of pit road.
Got to go, man. Got to go. Clock is ticking.
Jeff Burton talking it over, and Newman trying to get back up into the top 10 before this session ends.
Smokes.
He slipped to 29th.
Smoke's right rear spring change didn't help him a bit. He remained 14th. Ran just about the same that he ran the lap before.
Yep.
Matt Kenseth on a flyer.
Whoa, that's typical Richmond right there. Get that back end hung out off of 2 over there.
Newman picked up to 20th. Probably not as much as they'd hoped to gain on that run. And Newman on a second lap up to 18th.
Let's see how the Big Bud's doing here. Coming off turn 4. Start finish line. You see how quickly we get there. Long way down to turn 1. Big sweeping D-shaped corner. Got to be careful. Leave the door open there, man. Somebody drive in under you. But coming up off of 2 right there. Handful getting off of 2. Little short back straightaway. Hardly in the throttle at all. Got to hook the bottom right here. Got to keep her on the bottom. Whoop. A little bit of little tail happy.
30 seconds left in the session. Kane remains 12th with that run.
Little loose off 4. I didn't like that.
A car that just jumped way up on the practice sheet was Kurt Busch, and that 2 car jumped up to 8th quickest at a 21.94 just a second ago. Comes Kurt in the garage area. We've been talking a lot about Tony Stewart. He's been out on that racetrack a lot. He has run 67 laps in this practice session with that 14 car, and I think this practice has come to a close. So 3 hours of practice. We had one little incident in this practice with A.J. Allmendinger scraping the wall up in 1 and 2.
And we've just had a plethora of information. I mean, you know, you think about Mike Federchek. Who would have been there? I thought we'd have talked about him today.
With the Munchkin.
The Munchkin. Yeah.
That was the car Tony Stewart took to the Chili Bowl and signed in as Smoke Johnson.
And we learned about Ackerman.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch wins practice. Jamie McMurray won the first practice today. Who will win pole qualifying? You just have to tune in later on Speed to see. Coming up later, nationwide qualifying and Sprint Cup qualifying. But now let's go across to the speed stage. And Steve Burns.
We must have kept Kyle up late last night over Denny Hamlin's race.